Hello there, I am the Common Sense Guy, and today we're going to be doing a video that has been brought to my attention by one of my subscribers, or at least I hope he's a subscriber, who is called Bill Boret. Now, this person in general has commented on my Feminist Assemble video to do with Telford to let me know that the BBC have put out a new style video to try and say that all of these people that have been arrested and prosecutions have been made against them and everything else like that, that, you know, some of them are white, some of them are black. Now, personally, I don't see that, but then again, hey, let's see what happens in the actual story and how the BBC are going to try and twist the fact that this is a grooming gang predominantly to do with Pakistani men, or Muslim men as well, and how this is now an every man's problem. A white man, a black man, a Pakistani man, Asian man, and how girls of all ilks are now being targeted. So, without further ado, let's get into this video and see how the spin doctors are going to spin this one, shall we? So, first of all, so you have the idea and the actual premise of what we're going into before we go into the written article, we're going to quickly show you the actual small 2-minute video article that has been linked with this article. It's, should we say, interesting, and I want you to draw your own conclusions from this. I don't want me to influence you in any way, so please have a look, and in the comment section, if you wouldn't mind just pausing the video after you first heard this video that I'm just about to play, would you tell me what you think and what you feel about how the BBC are portraying this? Right, that being said, let's play that video, shall we?
It was different white men that was doing it to him. They were giving him money, taking advantage of him, getting him drunk, giving him drugs, just really taking advantage of him, and they were using him for sex. It's not just Asian men who are doing it. It's white men. It's black men. The girls are white, Indian, black. There's even Pakistani girls. It's going on in all races. It's not just the Pakistani community. There's no way anyone can say it's historic, because I know it's not. My own son has been going through it, and there are other people I know who are still going through it. I feel angry, upset. I want to go and kill them. It's made me quite poorly.
Hopefully this isn't going to influence anybody that's down in the comment section, and I just wanted to ask you again, stop the video right now, give me what your impressions are of this video before you go any further, just so I have an idea of what people are actually thinking and who this is convincing and who this isn't. Now, me personally, whenever a person normally gives the idea that they are giving an anonymous interview, they normally black them out and tell them that they are using an actor and an actor's voice to hide them and everything else like that. They don't ask them to sit down in a dirty room, put a sheet over the top of them, and ask them to speak away from the camera. That in itself is a red flag, if you want to use that term, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not going to be other people that are not going to be involved in these rings. I'm not going to say that other people are going to be having different sexual preferences in these rings. The point that everybody is making, that these are run by mostly, and no, not all of the community, but mostly some of the Pakistani community. Now, that doesn't mean that I think every single Pakistani is like that. Of course I don't. That's not the point. That's not the issue. The fact is that if we're going to talk about this as an actual topic and actually try to divide what the actual problems are, then we actually need to talk about it as honest grown-ups. The fact that most of the grooming gangs that have seemed to have come out are of a predominantly Asian descent, or to put it more politically incorrect nowadays, of Pakistani descent, Afghani descent, and Iraqi descent. Now, again, that's not to say all, it's just to say that all the grooming gangs are predominantly this way, that there is a difference. So, with that being said, let's counter some of her other claims. She also claims in this video that her son is being abused. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try and say that no, you definitely ain't, because it goes against my narrative. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person. He probably is being abused. He probably is being abused by the circle that's been created by the actual gangs themselves, to be able to bring people in and traffic them and put them into different houses and ask for people to come in from different areas. Because I'm sure that's the way that it works. Again, I have no proof of this. This is only conjecture and opinion. But that's what I would think. I would think that the gangs get people that want to be interested in the particular gang and actually talk to them about what they want and what they want to provide. They go out and get what they want. Kind of like a shopping trip, if you will. And as for the fact of this lady coming out and saying, oh, they're also white and black men. Yes, I'm not going to say that there are not white and black men that would participate in a paedophile ring, that would participate in taking the innocence away from children by any means. But the point is that they are not part of the actual gang. They might participate, they may be the ones that are actually doing it, but the ones that are initiating it and actually controlling it, and the ones that have put the foundations and the business model into place, are unfortunately, for you BBC and the left in general, Pakistani grooming gangs. That's the reason why they're portrayed like that, because it's the truth and you're trying to spin it out. Now, don't take my word for it. Let's go on to the actual BBC News website itself, and let's actually have a look at the people that they portray as the people that are part of this rape gang. And let's see what colour they are, let's see what they look like, shall we, and what names they are. So as you can see by this screen cap, obviously the link in the description will be there, so you can have a look at this. All of the sources that I use will be linked in the description box below, so please have a look. But I've also left the website up there as well, so if anybody wants to actually just, you know, just write it down and then just use it, then they can do, and they can get exactly to where I was before. So, you can have a look at these pictures that were caught by the police in 2012, and the two brothers at the top. And, yeah, most of them look like, you know, what we were just talking about, to be honest, just off of the bat. But let's just read it, shall we? And this is, remember, the BBC itself. The Sunday Mirror said it found groups of mainly Asian men were targeting girls in town. Child sexual exploitation in Telford first made headlines in 2012 as 7 men were jailed following West Mercer Police's Operation Chalice. The force said more than 100 girls could have been targeted by this gang, I'm adding that bit in, between 2007 and 2009. Victims as young as 13 were piled with drugs and alcohol and sold for sex by men who posed as their boyfriends. Miss Allen said the men jailed in 2012 were of Pakistani origin. The victims were of white origin, and that was the case in Rotherham and other places across the country. She said, we shouldn't shy away from it and we shouldn't bury our heads in the sand. Well, the MP is actually at least trying to do something for Telford, even though, obviously, the things have happened. I will pass on another point that I think is very, very pungent from a cover-up perspective, or a conspiracy theory of a cover-up. The fact that the police chief for Telford and that surrounding area come out and said that there isn't over 1,000 people that have been affected by this. Now, in a 2-year period, and this is by their own statistics and the BBC statistic, and this is between 2016 and 2018, over 350 victims had come forward. And notice the point in that. victims had come forward. And that's 350. And this is supposed to have been happening for, some people guess, for up to 40 years. But you honestly don't think that there could be over 1,000 people that, you know, have had this happen to them at some point in that time period? I think that's very, very foolish. But let's have a look, shall we? First of all, I'd just like to say that I got the dates a little bit wrong. It's a 2 to 3 year period from 2014 to 2017. But the point still remains. So, the child sexual exploitation, or CSE, in Telford and Reeking. 337 reports of concerns about child sexual exploitation in 2016 to 2017. Of that, 224 individual young people come forward to complain about it, either about themselves or for other people. So we're going to add that together, that 224 just by itself, as individual young people. We're also going to add 128 sexual offences involving a child under 16 recorded in 2015 to 2016. So that's 224 plus 128 plus, on top of those, 256 child sex crimes from September 2014 to September 2015. And out of all of those, that comes up to 608. And that is in a 3 to 4 year period. And you don't think that it could be, I don't know, over sensationalized, that it could reach 1,000 in a 10-year period even, let alone what it's supposed to be towards a 40-year period? And as Miss Allen says at the bottom there, Miss Allen said, "No one is suggesting there are 1,000 victims on the streets of Telford today." Well, nobody is suggesting it. People are actually saying that there are over 1,000 victims on the street. They're just not being victimized on the street at this moment in time. That's the point. Then you have a gentleman by the name of Ansar Ali, a spokesman for Together Against Grooming, said he had seen evidence about the background of those affected. He said a study on the issue was done by the Office of the Children's Commissioner, which dated back to 2013, and, according to that research, a third of the victims were felt to be from a non-white background or black minority ethnic background. Again, I like the way that they say victims were felt to be from. Not were, not are, but were felt to be. Meaning they don't actually know. And this is speculation. Now again, I'm not saying that this didn't happen. I'm just saying that the statistics don't seem to back up your publications. That's the point. And the point in this little subsection was to prove to the police chief, so to speak, for Telford, that in a 3 to 4 year period, 608 people come forward with allegations of child sexual exploitation in your area, and you did fuck all about it. That's the more worrying point. After that, let's actually get into the BBC story that's actually supposed to have been changing everybody's view on this, shall we? So, this is the actual story that is going on in the BBC at the moment. As you can see, Telford abuse. I want to kill my son's groomers. A mother who claims her teenage son was groomed for sex by men in Telford says abuse in the town is ongoing. Obviously it's still fucking ongoing. Speaking anonymously, even though the BBC doesn't normally do it that way, it normally does it as a blacked out voice and, you know, the normal way of doing it anyway. She said her son was given money, drugs and alcohol by men who, until 6 months ago, were using him for sex. The Shropshire town is being dogged by fresh child abuse claims, including reports of widespread grooming back in the 1980s. Hence is what I said before about the fact that if you have 608 cases in a 3 to 4 year period, then what are you going to have in over a 40-year period? So the sensationalized idea that there's over 1,000 victims, yeah, I kind of agree that there is definitely over 1,000 victims. Just a smidgen over though, just a smidgen. So West Merthyr police said preventing child sexual abuse was a priority. Just because you're saying it doesn't mean that it's a priority, does it? It doesn't seem to be. But that's just my opinion, conjecture. But the mother told the BBC abuse there was not simply historic, and she knew people who were still going through it. And I agree, there is definitely sexual abuse still going on at Telford. Definitely. Same as it probably still is at Rotherham. Same as it probably still is at Newcastle. I'm moving to below the picture. Saying her son was abused over a 5-year period, she claimed her abusers were giving him money, taking advantage of him, getting him drunk, giving him drugs. She said, "I feel angry, upset. I want to go kill them. There's no way anyone can say it's historic, because I know it's not. My son has been going through it, and there are other people I know who are still going through it." Then report it to the police. If you know that stuff's still going on, and the police are telling you that it's still a priority, that they have a look for sexual abuse, then tell the goddamn police. Don't sell your story to the BBC. Actually go and tell the police. Do that instead. I've missed a little bit out, but it's basically going over the same aspects of the story at the beginning, and this is the bits that I want. Obviously, link for the whole story is in the description box below. Don't think I'm taking things out of context. So, from the convicted, Telford MP Lucy Allen said were of Pakistani origin and the victims of white origin. So here's a little bit of facts for you, and this is coming from the actual local MP there, who wouldn't be allowed to actually lie about it, and considering the fact that, you know, how the governments are at this moment in time for, you know, hate speech. How you doing, Count Dank? Hope you're doing alright, mate. She's got to be careful the way that she speaks. So if she says that they were predominantly all of Pakistani origin, and the victims of white origin, then surely she would have the statistics to be able to back that up and actually be able to prove it, rather than just having conjecture of saying, yeah, well, it must have happened to other girls as well. It must have happened from other men doing it as well. You know, yeah, that probably did happen, but where's your evidence for it? What's going on? And then we move on to where the BBC are trying to spin this. And this is my opinion, that's why I put the video on at the beginning, so you could actually understand what I was trying to get at. The abused boy's mother, you know, pulling on those heartstrings, told the BBC her son was abused by different white men, and the abuse was going on in all races. Again, I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not. I'm just saying that predominantly the Pakistani rape gangs are the ones that are getting most of the flack because they were hurting the most of the people. And that doesn't mean that other people are not doing it. It's not just Asian men who are doing it, she said. It's white men, it's black men. So just hating on men in general. Now, again, that's not to say that these people are not doing it, or are doing it. That's not my decision. Show me the actual evidence, show me the proof, show me the crime reports, just any sort of thing that actually backs up any of your sources, rather than just a woman crouched over at the back of a house, probably in a washroom or something like that, that's got a sheet hidden over the top of her so she can talk backwards so the sound bounces off the back of the wall. That's not the way that the BBC normally carry out their anonymous interviews, is it? But then again, that's just me, I suppose. She added, victims were also of different background types. Nobody ever said that they weren't. All that they're saying is that predominantly they are Pakistani men that are committing these crimes, and predominantly they are affecting white girls. Do you not understand the concept of not all? Or do we have to go through that whole hashtag fucking thing again? Probably have to go through that whole hashtag, don't we? Just at the last little bit, Miss Allen told Parliament on the 13th of March, vulnerable white working class girls were being traded for sex in a routine way. She said, after she spoke in the Commons, she had been inundated with reports of child grooming victims. So she even has more reports of what's going on, and she still states that it's predominantly Pakistani men and predominantly white women or white girls that are being abused. That's where the BBC are trying to spin it, by trying to say it's okay. It's not just these Pakistani men that are actually causing all these rapes and everything else like that. It's just all men. All men are doing it. And it doesn't matter what race they are. They're coming after all of you. I don't see how this is helping, BBC. I don't see how this is helping at all. And I still want to see your sources, rather than just anecdotal evidence. Now, don't get me wrong, anecdotal evidence can be quite good when it's backed up with facts. So that's all I really have to say about the fact that the BBC are now actually trying to spin this as the fact that all men rape, and therefore we shouldn't take notice the fact that a particular ethnic minority is coming together, using their influence and power to predominantly attack a particular ethnicity as well. And we're not supposed to talk about that, you know, because, well, all men do it, apparently. Yeah. Thanks, BBC. Thanks for being so grown up to actually being able to talk about issues that actually affect our children, rather than actually trying to deflate it, or actually just completely and utterly confuse everybody from the actual fucking issues. We all know that there are white and black paedophiles out there. We all know that there are white and black rapists out there. That doesn't negate the fact that predominantly in this case there are children grooming gangs that are possibly around the whole of the UK at this moment in time. That is absolutely worrying to me. Very worrying to me. But obviously, as you can just see, I put how to report the CSE. If you're worried that a child or young person is at risk or is being abused, you can contact the Children's Social Care Team at their local council. You can choose not to give your details. You can report it online at the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Command. Or you can call the NSPCC 24-hour hotline, which is 0808 800 5000. For expert advice and support. If a child is at immediate risk, call 999 or call the police on 101 if you think a crime has been committed. Children and young people can call Childline free on 0800 1111, where trained counsellors are available 24 hours a day, every day. Please use your services that are provided if you are affected or know somebody that has been affected by this. And remember that you're not alone, and the first step is always the hardest, and that's to admit it to yourself and then to admit it to somebody else. It gets easier from then. So with that all being said, I think it's best for me to say au revoir, farewell, adieu, auf Wiedersehen, I'll see you all again. But first of all, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this video, and don't forget to check out my new videos. See you all again real soon. Bye bye for now.